Hi, and welcome to this walkthrough of the game Frankie and Stein. My name is Sylvester Hansen, and this is a game I made in the month of June. It is an interactive novel, or short story rather. So let's begin. What I'm going to be doing for you today is just going through some of the decisions I made and just explaining what it is that you're seeing here. If you do want to play the actual game, I do recommend that you do that by yourself because I won't be going into much of the story here. And you can find it in the description below, and it's on Newgrounds and Congregate. I did have some trouble with the recent addition of WebGL to Unity, meaning that I actually couldn't get this particular build to work in WebGL. So you will have to approach it using Firefox, at least for now. I apologize for that, and I'll hopefully be able to put up a WebGL build within like a decent amount of time. So what you're seeing here is just the start cinematic. There's a lot of text in this particular game, and I chose to do this because what I wanted to achieve with this game was actually to make a dialogue system. I am working on a lot of different games currently, and I wanted to try and utilize a dialogue system in other projects. But to do so, I actually had to learn how to actually make one. So what you see here is really just sort of a slideshow with a bit of text at it. I chose a style that was reminiscent of Tim Burton. Um, I did this because honestly, it's a relatively easy style for me to do. And I knew that I would be spending a lot of time drawing in this project. So I wanted something that I knew that I could actually achieve a drawing that looked somewhat okay in a very short amount of time. The story, as you're seeing it here, is that Frankie, my main character, is very lonely, and she's also relatively mad, creating these creatures from scraps of dead meat. That alienates her from her crowd. So she decides to make a monster called Stein. Therefore, the title Frankie and Stein. A lot of the drawings you see here are actually drawn on my tablet. It's a Samsung Galaxy Note 10.1 from like 4 years ago. One of the reasons that I did this is that I actually enjoy drawing line art on that format more so than I do on my bamboo tablet from Wacom. And I can't say why. I think it's the tactility of actually drawing on a screen relative to drawing on a board that's in front of a screen that I really respond to. So that's the reason for that. A lot of this you can see has sort of a gothic theme to it. I love the illustration. I wanted to make something that was reminiscent of black and white movies circa the 30s and 40s. This is actually an introduction. What you see now is an introduction to the main mechanic. I did have to create a little bit of a mechanic that wasn't just a dialogue system. It's not only the button next that you're going to be pressing in this game. So the idea is that you have the husk of Stein. You have the monster already created, but you're actually still in the process of forming an identity for him. And you have to do this using different brains, a combination of them. And there are 5 brains to choose from. And you can see here that Frankie is without a brain, so he's not fully created yet. And the whole point of this is to make a personality that's compatible with Frankie's. So what you see here is the main gameplay. The point is that you have 5 different brains, as you see them here, to choose from, and then you have Stein in the middle, and he is sort of the recipient of those brains. These 5 brains are actually based off of the relatively recent Pixar movie called Inside Out, in which 5 core emotions control the person. I don't know if I believe in that philosophy of thinking, but it was very easy and convenient for this particular project to just sort of borrow that. So you have a brain that represents fear, a brain that represents joy, a brain that represents disgust, a brain that represents anger, and a brain that represents sadness. So the idea is you can go in and you can test each brain out by pulling this lever here. So you can see, here you go, we have a conversation between the 2 characters. He now has half of a brain, which is the joy brain. So he's very happy and he's almost too enthusiastic, and Frankie doesn't really respond very well to the overly enthusiastic version of him. So if I wanted to take that brain back, I can do that. Now let's say I want to make a combination. Let's say anger and disgust. I want an angry and disgusted person. So what you get here is actually an ending. This is her creating the final character. So she has a conversation with him, and he's of course very disgusted by her, but he's also aggressively disgusted by her. And this sort of bleeds into the final act here. See, he just gets worse and worse and more insane, which frustrates Frankie to no end, to the point that she actually murders her own creation and never attempts to create another one. And that's one of 3 endings. I, in my relative, what do we call it, relative newcomer status of game creation, decided not to make a positive ending to this game. There are 3 endings. One is, as you saw, Frankie killing Stein. The other is Stein killing Frankie. And the last one is Stein killing himself. And some of the feedback I got from that was not overly amazing. People thought that there was a right way. They thought they were doing it wrong. They thought they were playing the game wrong, and so would continue playing it until they got the right way, only to realize that there isn't one, because I, in my infinite wisdom, chose not to actually add any positive way of assembling Stein. I thought that this was sort of a comment on the futility of creating life in this manner. However, clearly people did not agree. So let's just give ourselves another version of that. See, he's frightened and angry at the same time, which of course bleeds into her murdering him once again. So that was my game. I hope you go into the description for this video and try the game out for yourself. It's been scored amazingly by Dylan Harper, my only collaborator on this project. I very much encourage you to check him out. I will also put a link to his Newgrounds profile in the description. So I hope you enjoyed this, and